Tranquilo, the Spanish word for calm. Now here's something that shocked me after moving here to Ecuador. I feel safer, calmer walking around the streets at night here in Cumbayá than many of the streets in Chicago, Milwaukee, New York City, the big cities of the United States. And today, before you get mad at me, we're going to be talking with real stats, real statistics from these two countries. Which is safer, the United States or Ecuador? Well, I think the truth is going to honestly shock you. Let's dive into it. And good morning, and welcome to another beautiful day here in Ecuador. Today we're talking about the crime rates and where it's safer to live in Chicago or here in Ecuador. And honestly, the truth shocked me. I did a ton of research before making this video, and well, if I were to say to my family, I'm going to Chicago, they would say, ooh, you should be careful about that, because in the past, there have been a lot of homicides. Just in 2025 alone, there were 417 homicides, which is actually the lowest amount of homicides in the last 60 years. But here in Ecuador, is it any better? Like, can you just make a video outside in Ecuador? I guess so. I'm here right now. But many Americans, when they think of Americans, I know we're in Latin America, we are all Americans, but I don't know what else to call people from the United States besides Americans. So I'm gonna say Americans, when they think of Ecuador, they think of, well, violence, and they think of crime, and they think of homicides, and they think of drug cartels, because that's what's on the news. That's what you see. And in Chicago, you don't really see all these homicides and all the violence that's in some of these areas of Chicago. And it doesn't make the international news. When something happens here in Ecuador, it honestly just makes international news. It's on CNN, it's on all these news channels, and my family sees it, everybody in the world sees it, and they say, ooh, I don't think we should be going to Ecuador. In Chicago, a little over 400 homicides in 2025. Here in Ecuador, 9,100 homicides in Ecuador in 2025. That's dramatic, and that's crazy. That does make the news, and I totally understand it. People like my parents, they don't go to places like Chicago or Milwaukee or big cities because on the news you see that it is dangerous. And here in Ecuador, well, 9,000 homicides in 1 year, that's pretty crazy. For a small country like this, whew, makes me think. Ecuador had its most violent year in modern history this last year. And honestly, why am I promoting Ecuador if there's so many homicides and a lot of comments saying it's very dangerous in Ecuador, don't recommend it to anyone? Well, my daily life is a lot different than what the noticias, what the news says. I can walk around Cumbayá during the day or at night and I feel perfectly safe. And part of that is just seeing people out, families outside, you see kids playing soccer. Moses had a little soccer competition on the other side of Quito. We go to the Parque Carolina. We feel very, very safe walking around. But there are parts of Ecuador that are very, very dangerous. And those parts are, if you go on the US Embassy's website, they're places that they say you cannot visit. Don't go there. Something bad will happen to you. And so we don't go there. We don't go anywhere near these places, especially like Esmeraldas, like the border cities of Ecuador and Colombia. Those can be really, really dangerous, and you see a lot of news from there. But here, in especially the capital of Quito, you're going to find that life is much different than what you see on the news. But this is where the stats don't necessarily tell the whole story. For us and for our family, we feel very, very safe here, and that's because of what I just said. You go to the safe places. In the United States as well. If my family says we're going to Chicago to see a musical, that's way different than we're going to Chicago to live. And some places of Chicago are perfectly safe and very, very beautiful. I really do love Chicago. I love New York City, been there a few times and really enjoy it. I love Miami and I feel very safe there, but that's because I choose the places where I want to go. And the places where I want to go are usually going to be the safe places. I'm not going to go to some place that's just a dangerous place to go and hang out and live, and like, I'm not going to bring this camera to a very, very dangerous place. I'm going to be safe with it. And there are different safety measures that I take. One is look up the place where you're going and make sure that you're going to a safe place. Don't just jump in a car and say, I'm going on a road trip through Ecuador. You're not going to do that in Chicago either. You're not going to say, I'm just going to go to this really dangerous place and just hang out there for a day. You typically don't do that. You go to the Bean, you go to the downtown areas of Chicago or New York City, and you enjoy Times Square or the park. And I mean, that's a beautiful thing. And here too, in Ecuador, there are some very safe places where you've seen me take this camera and share Ecuador with you. And there are so many more places to share with you that are perfectly safe. And there are really good people that live here and also that live in the United States. You can't just categorize the United States as everybody loves Trump or everybody loves this political party. You can't do that here in Ecuador either. You can't just say, in general, everybody thinks that Ecuador is dangerous, or everybody in Ecuador is just a horrible person, or everybody in the United States doesn't like immigrants. That is not true at all. And I think that that's where the news comes in, and the news plays this one picture that is just a horrible picture of one country. And sometimes, yes, like maybe the majority of the people are going to be dangerous and maybe not very nice in some countries. That is not the case for the United States or for here in Ecuador. There are really good people here in Ecuador and the United States, and I love both countries. And honestly, if you're looking at a place here in Ecuador, there are plenty of places where you're going to have an expat community. And that is going to be like a Cuenca, where thousands of new people move there every single year, or Cotacachi, where you have this whole market that has all these foods from around the world, which is really cool. Or here in Cumbayá, where you have more of the working class people, maybe my age, a little bit older, who wanted to move here but still work, and you're close to the airport and you're able to fly different places and do your work if you need to travel and do work in different countries. That's why we love it here in the Cumbayá area. It's more expensive, but honestly, the people are really nice. You find everything that you would want to in the United States, including Pizza Hut, Domino's Pizza. You can find Starbucks now, which none of those places I enjoy very much. I love the food from here in Ecuador even better, and sweetened coffee wins 100 times over Starbucks. And I just love the Latino culture. I'm in love with Latin America, but I also love the United States, and I hate when people point a bad picture at countries because of a generalization. So, is it safer here than the United States? Well, pause this video for just a second and make sure that you like, subscribe, leave me a nice little comment about what you think about the safety here in Ecuador compared to other places around the world. I honestly think that, well, you'll see in this video. Check me out on Instagram and TikTok as well, Gringo y Latino, and let's get back to the video. Oh, wait, there's also HolaFly right below. If you're traveling outside of your home country, this will keep you connected on your cell phone so that you have Wi-Fi, you have cell phone connectivity, and you're not just lost in the middle of Paris or in the middle of Ecuador without any connection. All right, check out the link right below. It's right in the comments. Back to the video. On paper, it is definitely not safer here than in the United States. You can go to the United States and you can leave your garage door open and you can leave your door unlocked in many of the cities. Where I grew up in the suburbs, you can definitely do that. We don't do that, but you could if you wanted to. If you forget to lock the door, it's okay. Here, there are lots of conjuntos, and the conjunto has a guard. And just in our neighborhood alone, in 1 week, there were 5 robberies, and one was held up, like this elderly couple was held up like this, and they stole everything from their house. And maybe, I'm guessing, if you live here in Ecuador, you could probably relate to that, because sometimes that does happen. That's where I would recommend, highly recommend, you finding a conjunto with a guard, because that is going to be the safest thing for you if you're moving here and you're bringing your family and you just want to live a life that is tranquilo. Find a place that has a guard, has a nice community, and is in a house that is kind of your economic level. If it's really high, like you make a lot of money, you can live in a very nice community that's super safe. If you're mid-level, still find a nice community with a nice guard and you'll be just fine. And honestly, if you're even the lower, you can find an apartment that has a guard in the apartment building and you'll be just fine. So don't think that all of Ecuador is going to be really dangerous. Even from my stories of the community right outside of our conjunto, they just put in a new gate and new guards and things like that because of those things that had happened about 2 years ago. But honestly, I've never felt unsafe here in Ecuador. And I think if I were to ask Elise and Moses if they felt unsafe here, they would say, no, I never feel unsafe here. Other countries that we go to, sometimes you feel unsafe. Chile, where we lived before this, I never felt unsafe, even when there was civil unrest because we were in a small town. And the difference between the United States and Latin America is that Latin Americans, they know all their neighbors. So if you literally need tea or sugar or something like that, you just go across the street, ask your neighbor, and you have this community that all cares for you. And they care about their community. They want to keep it safe. They want to keep it good because they grew up there, or they just care about it. They want it to be safe. And in the United States, you get that a little bit as well, but typically you come home from work, you go in your house, and that's it. But as you saw in my Dominican Republic video, if you haven't seen it, take a look. It'll be linked right after this video. You see that families live literally all on the same street. You could have 10 houses that are all cousins or brothers, sisters, and they all live together. And I think that's my parents' dream too, to all live together on the same street. Unfortunately, that didn't happen for them. They have to come all the way to Ecuador to visit us, but what a beautiful place to come and visit. I mean, honestly, we love Ecuador, and I'm so happy from your comments that Ecuador is starting to embrace us as well. So thank you for your kind comments, and just remember, don't generalize a country. And if you're thinking of moving to Ecuador, if you're thinking of visiting Ecuador, you'll be just fine. Hire a company to take you around and tour you to Cotopaxi. You'll be just fine there. You're in the middle of nowhere. It's just places that are going to be mainly like city centers. If you go to the Centro Histórico, the historic center in Quito, just be careful with your wallet and your phone and things like that. When you're walking around in any busy city, you're going to be careful about that. If you're not selling drugs and you're not involved with the cartels, you're probably going to be fine here in Ecuador, and you're not going to have to worry about these kidnappings and things like that you hear about on the news. And also, if you're in a place like Quito or the Sierras, you're probably going to be fine. But Guayaquil and the coast, well, I think some of the places there are just fine, but you have to have a little bit more care for where you're going, walking around and things like that. Let me know in the comments what you think. I've been to Guayaquil a few times, but I've never been to Manta or other coastal areas in Ecuador. I've heard some of them are absolutely beautiful, but you might just want to read some comments below from people who actually live there. All right. I hope that you enjoyed this video for today, talking about safety in Ecuador compared to the United States, or honestly anywhere around the world, because safety is a big deal. And if I'm going to recommend Ecuador to you, I want you to know that there are going to be risks. Like if I were to recommend New York City for you to live, well, I would recommend certain parts of the city for you to live in. The same thing here in Ecuador. I would recommend certain parts of Ecuador for you to live in. The Sierras, awesome. Cuenca, awesome. Quito, great. Parts of the coast, I would just be a little bit more careful. But here's a little dog with a collar. I mean, I just feel very safe. I can sit here in the park. You can see what's happening right around me. It's beautiful, and the weather is always awesome all year round, and the food is good, the prices are great, and the houses are so beautiful, and just a really calm place. And I mean, I can just hear the birds right now. They're all around me, and what a beautiful place to live, and beautiful people for you to get to know if you've never been here, learn some Spanish, and well, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Check me out on Instagram and TikTok, Gringo y Latino, and like, subscribe, and make sure you check out the link below if you're coming here for the first time or traveling outside of Ecuador. HolaFly will get you connected to any internet that you might want to be connected to as soon as you arrive to your destination. There's a 5% discount code right below, linked in the comment. All right, we'll see you guys next time. But for now, enjoy where you live, find the good, and we'll see you guys next time. But for now, ciao, Pascal.